We're going international again, virtually visiting India. In this supersized episode of the Dane The Pain, Lars and Joel talk to Mayur Tendulkar about technology in India and how it shapes everyday life. We discuss the Aadhaar card, which is one of the most innovative social security systems in the world. We talk about Nokia and smartphones available to all Indians, as well as ask the most important question of all. Brought to you from the largest call center on this side of Jupiter.
And welcome to another show of the Dane and the Pain, the show that relies on the moon's gravity for life support and believes that the real Batman will always be Christopher Reeve. Good morning, Joel. Actually, it's not morning, it's evening for you, isn't it? So, how have your week been? Now, it's been a few days since we talked last.
Pretty awesome. I got to go out for beach day today. I sent you a picture that they actually send divers out to pick stuff up off the bottom of the seafloor for the kids to look at and bring them up in pools. And it's really cool. I mean,
what's beach day?
Well, the kids. My wife is a teacher. Well, and actually, all the schools here do it. But they, essentially take the kids down on the shoreline in various places and explore. And in some cases, they'll have divers. Sometimes they won't. But it's a good excuse to go to the beach and sort of fire. And like I said, they had all sorts of really cool starfish. Sea cucumbers, invertebrates of other kinds, clams, mussels, all these different critters to bring up for the kids to look at and hold, and then they take them back and put them in the water when they're done. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, right. That's pretty cool. I've never had beach day. I wish I had beach day. Can I have beach day?
You'd have to drive a while to get to a beach, right?
Splush.
Yeah, or fly.
This is true. Yeah, so I had this. Okay, I'll tell a little story about Australian culture that you may or may not know. So I've just got a new client, and the object of this consultancy gig is to enhance their development processes, make sure that they get a better product, better quality, all this sort of stuff. And they're basically just looking for outside help because when you keep looking at your own thing, you kind of get to a point where you just stare at it blindly. Their development team happened to be in Launceston, which is in Tasmania, and that's the southernmost part of Australia. It's an island, and it's a state as well. And so I got to go down there next week for a couple of days, and I asked one of the guys there. They went, we might be taking the family. What is there to do? Like, is there a thing on?" And the link that he sent me back was for AgFest. And don't get me wrong, I think this is a pretty cool event, but it just confirmed all of my stereotypes about Tasmania. So he sent me a link to an agricultural festival full of tractors and mud and stuff.
Sheep.
So, sheep, yes.
Sheep.
Tasmania has the oldest golf course in Australia, and it's in a sheep's paddock. No, I'm serious. It's in a sheep's paddock.
So you have to play through the sheep?
You do. And all of the greens are fenced in, so the sheep can't get in onto the green, so the green's still okay. So you basically have to hit over this fence to get and walk through the gate or whatever to go and putt on the green. Anyway, I think it's awesome. I love it.
That would be dangerous for the sheep, I would think, because getting hit by a golf ball would hurt.
Well, they'll learn, isn't it? Isn't that what natural selection's all about?
I'm not so certain with sheep, but anyway. What do we got going? We got really cool stuff this week. We have a great guest.
We do have a really, really good guest. Now, I'll introduce Mayur formally, I guess. So, Mayur Tendulkar. I don't know, are you related to the really, really famous cricketer, Mayur?
I used to say he is my uncle, but that was just a joke.
I like it. No, it's. I mentioned to a couple of guys in Australia that we had Mayur Tendulkar on the show, and that was the immediate thought because cricket is huge in Australia as well. Anyway, Mayur, you're a program manager on Xamarin team at Microsoft, and you work from home at Pune. Is that correctly pronunciation? Pune?
Yes, exactly.
In India, and you worked for Xamarin before, and you joined Microsoft 9 months ago or thereabouts. But I've been following you for God knows how long, for years, because you're in the same space as me with Windows Phone development and Windows Mobile and all that sort of stuff. Mayur is on Twitter at Mayur_Tendulkar. And you can also look at his blog, which is mayurtendulkar.com. Welcome to the show, Mayur. It's awesome that you have time to do this.
Thanks a lot for having me.
It's we talked a little bit about this before the show, but we did a really good episode with Latif from Kenya, and we realized that we just know nothing about India and technology. Like, we have all these preconceived notions. In Australia especially, we have this, and I don't like this particularly, but it's a common misconception that all call centers are in India. And that's all people know. Oh, India, that's annoying, it's all the call centers. And I just wanna kill that myth, because I think it's not fair. Because we all know the best ones are in Philippines. So I want to talk about tech, and I think Joel has a ton of questions about tech in India, because to me, India is a massive market, and some of the stuff that you guys are doing nationally are quite impressive. Joel shared a little article about a system called Aadhaar. And excuse me for not pronouncing it correctly, but that's the best I can do. And it's basically a way of identifying and registering the population of India. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. So
they use... Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so think of it like a social security number that we have in US. So it is like Aadhaar means support. So basically, in India, we have government gives a lot of subsidy to people in different forms. So they want to track these subsidies. They want to track the people. They want to know how exactly all these things are linked. So Aadhaar card is like a key in this system where everybody will have an Aadhaar card, and government can use that Aadhaar card to provide benefits to the end user.
Yeah, right. Because I read something that the main problem was that if people are born, say, in rural areas and there are no hospitals, they may be born at home, they don't get a birth certificate, and essentially they're non-citizens. They don't exist officially as an Indian citizen. And not only is this a problem for registering people and knowing how many people there are in certain areas and where to provide help and all that, but it also means that people weren't paying taxes. Is that right? Which is critical, I guess, to get any country going. Is you're gonna have taxes to pay for stuff, right?
Right. So the thing is, let me give you my example. So
Sure.
in 2008, I wanted to apply for a passport, and I am actually born and brought up in another city called Pandharpur, which is like around 200 kilometers from where I live now, which is Pune. So I born and brought up in Pandharpur, and all my schooling and everything happened over there. So when I wanted to apply for passport, we required some kind of documentary proof that, hey, this is Mayur Tendulkar, born and brought up in this particular city on this day, on this, and this person is his father and mother. So the problem is my name, my legal name, and my name on the social media is different. So because of which it was like totally chaos. All my documents had different name and everything. So the passport officer was like, hey, I don't have any documentary proof that you are Mr. Mayur Subhash Vakde Tendulkar, who is born on this particular day, on this particular in this particular hospital. So at that time, I had to convince him, saying, hey, this is what I have, because there is one more problem that when I was born. So the naming ceremony so when we have a boy or a girl in the house, typically then we will name them that, okay, this is we will call this person as call this boy as a Mayur after a couple of days. So the birth certificate that you get will not carry the name of that boy or a girl. So my birth certificate didn't have my name. So this guy was the passport officer was like, hey, how can you mention that, okay, this is the person that was born on this particular day. So at that time there was a chaos, and I didn't get my passport. But later on, I got all these documentary proofs and everything, and it became easier for me to get the passport, to get the driving license. Also, we get subsidy for using LPG, that is liquefied petroleum gas. So there are like a lot of options, lot of benefits that government provides, and if we suppose want to get these benefits, we need the government needs to know, okay, this is the person that person is getting this benefit. So Aadhaar card helps in that particular scenario. But there are many certain scenarios as well where it is surprising where Aadhaar card has been very helpful. For example, there are cases where children were lost somewhere, but luckily the police inspectors can get their fingerprints, match it in the Aadhaar database, and they can figure out who is that child is, and where are his parents and all these things. So this is like a very surprising outcome of Aadhaar card. So once the system is ready, you will never know where exactly all this, where exactly Aadhaar card can be used. There can be n number of scenarios.
I was really curious. So one of the things that struck me is it seems like, this is, a number of years ago when the India as a whole decided to start the system, and they actually sort of either accurately predicted or built in the capacity for biometrics. And that struck me as really sort of forward thinking, especially, we like in the US tend to bellyache about changes in these large systems. In India, is on the order of more complicated with the number of states that there is, the various languages and dialects, and of course, just the physical, size of the country. It kind of shocked me that it was so forward thinking, and the fact is, I'd never heard about it before, until several weeks ago.
Right. So one of the key points to consider over here is the person who was who played the key role in this system is Nandan Nilekani, who is from who was working with Infosys before taking this position. So, as you were saying, that most of the time when you think about India, think about the call centers, but we do have some great people in India who have invented a lot of things. And Nandan Nilekani is from Infosys, and Infosys is like one of the biggest IT service provider in India. Like just like we have Wipro, we have Tata, that is TCS. Then we also have Microsoft, Google development centers in India as well. So a lot of software development happens over here. So when before Aadhaar card, there was no any single proof of identity or biometrics which can say that this is the person that it belongs to. For example, I could use my driving license as my identity. I could use my passport. I could use my election or voters card, but all these things were different, and there was a chance of duplicacy. For example, anybody can just take a photograph, my photograph, put his or her name and print it out, and that's it. There was no biometrics involved. There was nothing like unique identification of that particular person involved. So this Aadhaar card is kind of like unique in its in its sense that it provides all this information uniquely for each individual. So it's like a 12-digit unique identity number. It has the biometrics, like it has a photograph, it has fingerprints, and it is kind of like unique in demographic area as well. So government at that time thought way beyond, way ahead for this particular scheme to roll out. For example, they published an act, Aadhaar Act, in 2009, I guess. It started planning this whole thing in 2009, and till now we have about 88% of population covered under Aadhaar scheme. So
Wow.
that's like a huge deal, yes. And the state where I live in, Maharashtra, we have about 94% population covered under Aadhaar. So that's a big deal, actually.
Do you think, and this is sort of related to our previous discussion regarding Kenya. So one of the things that were we were talking about is mobile money, or the notion that you can directly send payments from, say, a mobile device to another mobile device, and sort of circumvent the normal banking system. Is that capacity, or is that something that could be done, or is that already happening?
Yes. So one of the reason of, as I said, one of the reason of introducing Aadhaar was to identify each individual uniquely. That is the first thing. Second thing is to curb the black money and the corruption that we have in India. So, for example, I can carry the cash in my wallet. I can go anywhere and I can just bribe someone and get my things done, get my work done. But that is not the right way to do it, right? So, this is a well set plan that, hey, if you the first thing is, let's introduce Aadhaar for each individual. The next step is, let's give all the subsidies to the people who have Aadhaar cards in their direct account. And what is required for that? Let's have all these banking systems linked with the Aadhaar card. So, for example, I have, let's say, my salary account. I will put my Aadhaar card over there. Or I have my income tax account. I will put my Aadhaar card over there. So, just using that Aadhaar card, government can get to know which person is this, how much money he is earning, and all these things. I can understand this is there comes the privacy concerns, but I think it is for good. This is my personal view on it. It is for good because once you have your banking system and all these systems linked with Aadhaar card, the next thing is when you want to do some transactions, you will do it online. So I cannot carry cash. So one of the steps that government took last year was demonetization. So all the currency notes, which are like 500 rupees note or 1000 rupees notes, were demonetized. So now we have new 500 rupee note with some biometric specifications. We have 2000 rupees note with biometric notification specifications. But the thing is, government hasn't rolled out all this money like in huge quantity. So government is pushing all of us ahead to use the cashless transactions. So we already use the net banking facilities. We already use the credit cards, debit cards. But as you were saying that most of the rural areas, we don't have these facilities. And all the credit cards and all the debit cards that we have, when people use this, there is some charge that these vendors will charge, right? For example, MasterCard or Visa card or Amex will charge some amount for every transaction. So government has come up with some schemes like UPI. They also have done built some internal applications as well within India, which can help transfer money between different accounts at very nominal rates. Sometimes it's like free as well. So this is kind of like transformation that is happening, and I believe in some years ahead, maybe there will be totally cashless economy, and that is good for this country. This is my personal opinion.
I just think that's amazing.
So
Given,
it is.
The time period involved. You're talking about 8 or 9 years,
Yes.
and
It's nothing.
yeah, I mean, really, in a large country, and it really makes me sort of like lower my head in shame in the U.S. because we, we just seem to be going backwards in some respects. But I digress. Lars, you had a question.
No, I love the whole story about this and how it's come about and the way that it's being implemented for the vast majority of the population of the whole country. So next step, I guess, is in your personal opinion, Mayur, how has this changed for you? Like, what are the benefits that you say you would have now because of this compared to, say, 10 years ago, apart from what you were just mentioning?
So, personally, when the Aadhaar card scheme was launched, I was like against it. I was reluctant to provide my biometric data to anybody.
Of course, I would be too.
Yeah, even if it's government, I don't want to give my data. So I was very curious how actually this works. So I didn't didn't get my Aadhaar card for like about 1 or 2 years, but my mom had it. So my mom is a government employee, and she had the Aadhaar card like issued in like just 2 days. And typically in India, one of the reason that you don't want to go to government offices is because it takes a lot of time. Like for example, if you just want to get a certificate at that time, it used to take about a week's time. And or if you want to register a company, it will take another month or something like that. So it used to take hell lot of time at that time. Okay, so I had this.
So was that a month of your time?
Yes, so it's like at that time as in like couple of years back. So I was very reluctant to go to the government offices. I was like, hey, I don't want to go there. I don't want to get the Aadhaar card or anything. But what happened is I got to know that my mom is a government employee, and she mentioned that, hey, you can get Aadhaar card in just like a day, maximum like 2-3 hours actually. You just need to go to a Aadhaar center. So what government has done is they have put on different places, kind of like small shops where you can go. You can give your fingerprints. You can get. They will take your photograph. They will enter your details. You just need to give 1 or 2 proofs saying that, hey, I am this person and staying at this particular place. That's it. They will verify that, and they will issue an Aadhaar card immediately. Immediately, as in like within within like uh, one uh, 1 hour, you will have something saying that, hey, your Aadhaar card will be dispatched. And
That's impressive.
Yeah, so I got this Aadhaar card like within like 1 week, with all my details. And now how exactly it is helping me? So that is the big question. So I got this Aadhaar card, but where can I use it? So I can use it at hell lot of different places. For example, within India, if I want to travel, a lot of people don't have passports. So it can be used for traveling on domestic flights. Second thing is, I have given up on government subsidies related to the fuel for cooking. So what government used to do is, let's say the fuel is about 1,000 rupees. It costs like the fuel for cooking. Let's say it cost about 1,000 rupees. So if suppose somebody gets a gas cylinder for cooking, government will pay about 400 bucks back to that person, saying that, hey, this is the subsidy that we are giving. But I have given up on that because I don't need it as such. So let the poor handle that. Let the poor have the benefit of that. So I said that, hey, this is my Aadhaar card and I don't want this subsidy. So now I don't get that subsidy. Second thing is, I wanted to get the driver's license. So Aadhaar card was like one identity over there which I can provide apart from my passport. That's saying that this is what I have. The next thing is the banking sector. So I have attached my Aadhaar to my bank account. So it's easier for the banks to give all the benefits to me, provide all the benefits to me, finding that, okay, this is the person, this is what amount he is getting into his account every year. So this can be the tax. So it becomes easier to calculate tax and everything. That is one thing. And I find it very easy for money transfer as well. So there are like different applications which makes it easier for transferring money to your friend. So for example, if suppose I go to a restaurant with my friends and we are like just chip in, like, okay, so this is I have to pay my share of my amount to my friend. So I can use this. There is this UPI, that is Unified Payment Interface, that government has introduced, which actually is like kind of connected to your banks. It also has your Aadhaar card and everything attached to it. So then using their, by the way, government has also launched an app called as Bhim app, Bharat Interface for Money, which allows us to do the digital payments, and it happens like within a minute, immediate transfer. It's like you don't need to wait for like 3-4 hours for an EFT transaction that happens. So there are many things that are happening around Aadhaar card, and I think we will see more benefit of this this scheme in coming years.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because it's interesting when you kind of put it in a personal perspective. Because I mean, a lot of governments will have some initiative to map out what the population is because it's in their interest, right? And often it's by law. So they say, well, you do it or you get a fine. And that's certainly the Australian way.
Yeah.
Whereas I think India has taken a much different approach, saying, hey, we'd love you to register for this. And if you do, hey, you're going to get, free healthcare, and you're going to get, all these benefits. We're going to make it easier for you to get your tax calculated. We're going to make it easier for you to receive money from the government. It's a much more positive way of doing it, I think, rather than this whole sort of, carrot and a stick that is certainly, in my opinion, the Australian way of doing it. I'm pleased by that.
I used to joke that there are $2 million questions. The first one is what women want, and the second one is how taxation works. Because because government is always there to tax you on everything. And I filed my income tax a couple of years back, and there were about 8 to 9 pages which you have to read and sign and submit all the details and everything. It was back to back 8 to 9 pages. So it was very annoying experience, because you get to know all the so there will be always a tax consultant who is helping you with this, but again he will charge you for that. And it's not that easy, because you need to know the tax laws as well, because if you don't know and if you don't file the exact amount of the tax, probably government will come back and sue you. So that was complicated. But now just one page document is there for filing the income tax. So that's amazing thing. So that is one.
But that should be better for everybody, surely.
Yes, this is way better. So this is the first thing is we are going paperless. So I used to carry a ticket printout for domestic flights. Now I don't need to carry. I can just show the ticket on my mobile and say that, hey, this is my ticket. That is one thing. And we are going paperless. We are going also cashless. So I used to carry notes in my wallet whenever I went outside my home. But now these days I just carry 1 or 2 credit cards and mobile phone. That's it. Yep. Nothing else.
So
yeah, that's awesome.
You mentioned earlier the sort of the difference between rural India versus urban India, and you're talking about transferring money, and this might lead to our next subject, Lars, regarding Nokia. But is it your experience that sort of operation or that transfer of funds is supported through all the whole range of devices? Because, I know the penetration for, what they would call dumb phones, but they're not really dumb phones. They're just, not as smartphones, is much higher in India than, say, the States. So does that work if you get outside of a major city, that transferring?
Yes, I will say that this mobile penetration is huge in India. So, those were the days where I had to call the operator and say that, hey, please connect me to my aunt in this particular city. I wish to talk to her, and it will take about 1 hour to connect to her using that landline phone. So those were the days. And now, just yesterday, I had this very, very weird experience. I was at the traffic signal and somebody was talking on the phone at the signal itself. So everybody has a mobile phone, everybody. And this is going like a huge scene in India. So first of all, the Android phones, they are dirt cheap. So about 20, I guess, Australian dollars, you can get a very good, very good Android phone.
Really?
Yeah. So
can you send me a pallet?
So there are different vendors. They provide cheap Android phones, and they do the basic things. For example, they will do the phone call, SMS, basic apps. Also, we have Indianized version of Skype, right? Microsoft released Skype Lite. We also have Facebook Lite, where internet is not available or available at very slow speed. These devices can help there. So in rural sections, so I travel a lot, and whenever I go to these different parts of the country, most of the time I will at least get a 2G network. or if not 3G, at least 2G. So in the major cities we have the 4G network. In rural areas we will have the 2G network at least. And when we have this 2G network, it becomes easier to transfer the money or update my Facebook post, something like that, or post something on Instagram. So we have good penetration for mobile as well as internet in a lot of places.
We were talking. Lars and I were talking about browsers and the sort of the use of browsers and web browsers in different countries, and how, what we might hear in the States or in Australia or Western markets, how there's Chrome and IE, and that's it. And I'm curious if there are any Indian specific browsers or companies that you see growing there.
I remember there was one browser which was created for India. I don't remember the name, but I don't know if it still exists. But there was one couple of years back. Uh, so it had all the Indic support and everything. Let me just see if I can find it. Indian web browser. Yeah, there used to be. I forgot the name. Epic? Was it Epic? No. I forgot. But yeah, there used to be one. Uh, but we have our own Dropbox, by the way. So what government has done is they have created a key vault where you can put your all the official documents, for example, birth certificate, Aadhaar card, and everything. So typically what I do is whenever I get any of these documents, for example, I got the driving license recently, so I scanned it and stored it on my OneDrive as well as Dropbox. So whenever, if suppose I want to renew it or something like that, I need to give the copy of that. But now what I can do is I can just put all of this in eKYC, which is electronic know your customer database, which is like a Dropbox for us. I will put all my documents over there, and whenever a government official asks me, hey, I need your documents, I can just say, hey, this is my unique number for this electronic know your customer. You can find my documents over there. So that is what we have.
Well, that's kind of interesting. So you just share
That's
a
really
link
interesting. Yeah,
to
for sure.
Yes, it is like secured access to on-demand documents, kind of.
Well, talk a little bit about Nokia has sort of branded its or sold its brand or licensed its brand to sell phones again. And talk a little bit about your experience of Nokia in India.
So Nokia, as I say, it's I used to joke about it. It's like a very rugged phone. You can throw it like a weapon to you on your friends. So I started.
You can build a house of it.
Yeah. So I started my mobile journey with Nokia phones. So I had Nokia 1100 phone, which used to have a torch. So you can just imagine at that time when I was like doing my I just completed my schooling. We used to have power cuts. So to help with power cuts, Nokia came up with this brilliant idea that, hey, this is a mobile phone with a torch in it. So I was like, okay,
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's very cool idea. And that was again very cheap phone, hardly like 15 Australian dollars kind of. So there I started working with mobile phones, and then I got my internship at Microsoft, and I started working on Windows Mobile and all this stuff, and I got interested in the mobile part. Uh, then Nokia also had this different phones specially made for Indian market. Though most of them were feature phones, but they still were like rugged because as we were talking about the rural area, people in rural area are not that careful about the phone, right? Because they can be farmers working in the field, they can be like milkman delivering milk at different places, so they will be carrying their phone anywhere, and if suppose they drop it, then that phone needs to be rugged. You cannot have iPhone you carrying around in the field and you dropped it and you lost your kidney, right? In India.
You can't even have your iPhone lying on the desk and it'll break. It's just so brittle.
Yeah. So Nokia is a very stellar phone in India. So unfortunately, we don't have new phones over here. But recently, Nokia made a comeback saying they are going to remake their old 3310 phone. So I'm eagerly waiting for it. Again, it seems that it is going to be a feature phone with about like 1 month battery kind of. So that is going to be an
Yeah, something
awesome.
like that.
So my personal opinion is Nokia gets things done very well, and they whatever they do it best. For example, they had this amazing camera in 1020, right? It was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And now
Well, we all love
they
that.
had this, yeah. So they had this. I still use no Lumia Fire 950 XL. It's my daily driver, by the way. So
That's mine as well.
yeah, Nokia is best, and I'm looking forward for their feature phones, and I will probably buy a couple of them. It's like just use it anywhere.
I'm just looking
Yeah.
at a picture of the 3310, and it kind of looks like the old school one. I don't know. I mean, I actually don't know if this is a genuine photo or just someone's thought rendering of it. But it has the traditional keyboard that we know that's very dependable. It has the pick up and the hang up buttons, and then it has a color screen in the top. And it looks like you're gonna have some sort of chat. It's probably WhatsApp, I would imagine, that you would put on it. But it looks like it's going to be sort of half smartphone.
Right.
So that's promising.
Yes, this is going to be a big deal because I guess Nokia was very popular in India before the Android penetration happened, and I guess if they come up with this brilliant ideas, they will have a very good comeback. I feel that.
Yeah, it says the 3310 will be 3,470 rupees in India. So that doesn't sound terrible.
So 3300 means about to Australian USD is like about 62 Australian dollars. So yeah.
So
Kind
about
of.
$40
Good deal.
US, something like that. That's
Yes.
pretty good. That's
Yes.
pretty good. I mean, I'd love to see Nokia succeed in whatever guise they're in. There's people that have said, "Oh, it's not the real Nokia because it's HMD Global that's got
Yes.
the license for the brand." But the fact is that they've hired about a third of the original Nokia engineers, so it is kind of Nokia still. So
Yeah.
I'm keen to see what comes out of it, and I think it's just the first step anyway.
Yes.
Now, I really want to I don't want to compare India to Kenya. That's not the intention. But we did ask Latif about how smartphones have changed people's lives in Africa. And especially in Kenya, he said he lived in the US for about 8 years or something. And he said he came back to Nairobi and there was a guy with a wooden cart with fruit and vegetables on it. And this guy was carrying a smartphone. And Latif was like, he doesn't need a smartphone, until he figured out that the guy was taking orders on his phone for the fruit and vegetable he was delivering. And then not only that, when he gets to the place, he was taking payment on that phone as well. So is there a similar revolution in India that's happening with smartphones or technology in general that you can kind of point out?
Yes, definitely. So after this cashless or demonetization thing happened in India last year, uh, everybody is like using mobile phones for money transfer. That is one thing. But I have seen mobile phones being used almost everywhere in India since almost like a couple of years. For example, my mom, she is actually tech savvy person, but her friends, they used to call me for support. So, if you are working at Microsoft, you are a kind of a support center for them. So they used to call me, hey,
I know
Mayur.
the feeling.
Yeah, so hey, Mayur, you know what? I'm calling, I'm this person, I'm your mom's friend. I haven't talked to her like never in my life, and she is like calling me for the first time, and she is like, Mayur, somehow the screen has turned in different way. I was like, what do you mean? So it's like the taskbar is on the left hand side. So I got to know I and they were using Windows XP. So I used to like imagine what are the things that are happening and everything, and then I realized okay, they must have pressed the Windows Alt and arrow keys to accidentally, and then the screen must have rotated, right? Just like you have your monitor turned vertically. So so I used to imagine how I will answer her and all this, like okay, let me see the key combination and everything, and on phone I used to answer that. But now the same persons, the same people are using WhatsApp almost daily. So they are using WhatsApp, they are using Facebook, they are like socially connected everywhere. They don't know probably how to operate the banking websites, how to use the different features which are there on the bank sites, but they know how to use the Paytm, which is app which allows them to transfer the money. They know how to book a cab. We have Uber over here. So we have a service like Big Basket where anybody can go and order grocery. So just from the mobile device they can do a lot of things. And I have seen that even though a lot of people don't understand, a lot of people, when I say it's like people about like 50, 60 years, they don't understand English very well, but still we have applications in different languages, and they have mobile phones because mobile phones are like cheap over here. They are get used to it. They are going well with the mobile revolution that is happening. So I feel that mobile is very helpful for these people. We also have some applications for old people. So if suppose they are at home alone, and if something happens, they can just dial the emergency number, something like that. We have applications which can we recently have applications for bike sharing kind of. So that kind of things are happening in India, and I think it's for good.
Yeah, it's and our mobile phones, are they, like the data plans and whatnot, are they cheap enough so that everybody can afford to have a mobile phone that runs all the time?
Uh, it depends. So we have different vendors, and we have some semi-government players as well. Like for example, Bharat Sanchar Nigam Limited, which is BSNL. So they have very cheap plans, and anybody can get it. So it's like $250 for a month, and you get the basic plan ready. So it's like $5 Australian a month about, and
That's
you
really
get
good. Yeah, that's the first barrier right there, right? So
yes, and this government player has very good area coverage. So yes, so we, even though we don't have like GBPS lines like Google Fiber or something like that, we don't have in India, but we have a good network coverage almost everywhere. So at least in the villages, we get a 2G network, and it's cheap. It's not that costly affair.
yeah, good. Because it's internet in Australia is certainly a very contentious issue. Like we have essentially, my background's Danish, so we have sort of 2002 Danish internet now. We've just got up to like 100 megabit. It's really quite terrible.
I thought you must be having like 250 Mbps or something like that, or 500 Mbps, something or like that.
No. So the way my internet works here is I have this. It's like a used can of beans that I've emptied, and there's a string in it, and then that string goes down to no. It's I have a mixture of 3G mobile connection and satellite connection, but I also don't live in a big city. I live out in the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
But they do want rural areas to have better internet. And
Lars,
unfortunately, the whole thing ended up in politics.
I live on an island and I have fiber to my house, so just get with it.
So I can't hear what you're saying, Joel. So you're dropping out there. Terribly sorry. Yeah, it's so I think India's doing quite well actually, especially having mobile coverage of the whole country because it's not a small country.
Yeah. So we will have at the bare minimum required mobile device with the network anywhere.
Wow.
That's
So
pretty good.
I was curious, are you working on any projects right now? Are there any things that you wanted to share, want us to share with listeners, or things that are you're sort of passionate about or working on?
Yes, so I'm passionate about helping people understand technology and helping them use technology. So that is in a nutshell. So I try to see what are the problems that we are facing, and if I can use my knowledge of technology to build or help solve this problem. So apart from my day-to-day job, I'm working on some hobby projects. So for example, on a weekend, I'm working on a project to help my society. So what we have in India is a society. Society, as in there will be couple of buildings with about apartments in it. Corporate housing society we call it. So in my society, I have about 300 apartments, and everybody has a parking and everything allocated. But what happens is there will be always some chaos. Somebody comes late in the night and they park their vehicle in somebody else's parking. So next day morning there will be like fight about it. Hey, who has parked this car in my parking area, something like that. Because it's like India is like a small country, but we have a very huge population. So these kind of issues are bound to happen. So I'm kind of like building an application for my society where they can track who is the visitor, who is coming in the society, going out of the society, uh, who has parked where, kind of like applications. So this is like one thing that I'm working on. The other thing that I'm working on is basically building an application which will help people understand Azure. So, Windows Azure is one thing where almost daily there is a new thing happening. And I have seen a lot of my friends coming to me, just like I am like a support center for them. Hey, Mayur, I don't know how to do this Azure. So I'm like, you can go to the documentation and you can figure it out over there, because I am not actually an Azure expert. But I thought that probably I can build an app for them which can be like a aggregator, which can get them like latest news, what things are happening in Azure or something like that. And probably I will create a blog series or something on that particular app and tell them how I build actually this application. So I'm working on that. It is still in the idea phase, so I'm still working on it, but let's see how it goes.
That's not a small feat. That's a huge thing to do.
Yes,
Jeez.
because right from the wireframes and making sure that application actually gets onto the store, and then thinking about, okay, where I can dissect it and record a video on top of it or write a blog post about it. It's yeah, I know it can be very time consuming, but yeah, weekends for that.
There's a saying, and I think there's an author, and I heard this the other day that I think applies to what you're just talking about. And James Joyce said, in the particular, you will find the universal. And so the idea that you're working on a particular problem for the folks that you live in and around you, you will, in that act, you will find universal solutions. At least that's how I interpret that saying. And so I thought it was interesting that you said that, because I think that's cool. I mean, if that's what you're doing for fun, that's really awesome.
Yeah.
I know, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, if it helps, I will open source it. Yeah, let's see how it goes.
It's also interesting to hear how that society, how it's organized, at least where you live. That's something that I'd never heard before, and I'm fond of saying, learn something new. Learn something new every day. And thank you for helping me learn something new today.
Yes, definitely. My pleasure.
I have a very important question. I've saved it for last year. And now, most Australian companies, when they outsource call centers and whatnot, they do it to India. I want to know, where do Indian companies outsource their call centers to?
That's a good question. When I was in college, I had this Windows XP media with me, licensed Windows XP. So I had a habit that I will format my machine before every presentation, just to make sure that I have everything set just like the attendees will have, like all the updates and everything. I still have that habit. So whenever I'm delivering a training, I make sure that my machine is on the same page just like the attendees. So I will format and reinstall everything. So I exceeded my number of activations for Windows XP. So the option was to call the call center. So I called and I heard some US accent. So I was like, hey, where exactly you are? So the person was very reluctant to answer that, but I got to know that they are somewhere here. So yeah, later on I got to know that the support center was, I guess, in Bangalore or somewhere. I'm not sure how actually these things work. But yeah, at that time it was like that. We do have support centers. We do have call centers. By the way, Microsoft has a global support center. I think we call it as a GTSC, Global Technology Support Center in Bangalore, where very, talented people sit and answer your queries. So I have a couple of friends working over there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But apart from we have support centers, we have call centers, but most of the like typical basic questions related stuff goes diverted to them. For example, sometimes how do I get activated? How can I get my Windows activated? Kind of questions go over there mostly. But yeah, that's a good question. Where exactly we send our support? Yeah.
Well, make sure.
Joel, do you know what time it is?
Oh, well, I was going to say, make sure when you get your blog post done for Azure, or you get that, share that with Lars and I, so we can share it with the folks that follow along with us. So, and I suspect it's time for a joke, and I hope it's politically correct.
That's right. Yes, that's well. Yeah, let's go with that. It is time for the joke of the week.
It's the joke of the week, so come along with me. I cannot promise it will be funny, but it's the joke of the week.
So a photon checks into a hotel and is asked if he needs any help with his luggage. And he says, nah, I'm traveling light.
Okay, that was a good one.
See, I'm Paul
you have a different
stuff.
definition of good.
Rather I have lived with some people who have a very different definition of good, so this is way better actually.
Yes, I am winning.
Yes, you are winning.
Oh dear. No, I want to say thank you to you, Mayur, because it's you're taking time out of your pretty busy schedule. I would imagine working for Microsoft is not a light task, and I've learned tons today. It's been really interesting, and I'd love to do another show in India. Actually, Joel, I kind of go away with more questions than I arrived with, but I've really enjoyed it. So thank you very much.
Thanks. And by the way, if suppose you are planning to visit India, do let me know. I would love to meet in person.
Yeah, we will.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Don't invite Joel though. He has too much beer.
That's right. I eat too much. I'm a terrible house guest.
All right. Until next time, Joel. I'll see you in the ether.
Absolutely. Good night.
Right.
See ya. Bye bye.
Thank you for listening in on another episode of The Dane and the Pain. We record across the Pacific, across hemispheres, and across time zones. You can find us on www.daneandthepain.com. Our Twitter handle is Dane_Pain, and we are The Dane and the Pain on YouTube and Facebook. We're also on your favorite podcast app, including iTunes, and please join our fan club by clicking the Register Now button on our website to know about upcoming shows and any free stuff we may have to share. See you next time on The Dane and the Pain.